morning. Good morning. I don't know, maybe you are in the afternoon. I don't know. Like me, you are in the afternoon. Brenda, you should be in the mid-morning. It should be lunch hour 12. Thank you very much. Are you able to hear me clearly, or I should get off my headsets? Okay. Thank you. It's really indeed a great honor and privilege for me to share with you in this way with the magic of technology. And I was just doing my updates on what I'm going to teach you. And so as we move through together, if there are any questions, feel free to ask. You know, I'm inviting you so that it's not just me talking. We can talk, you can just put your hand up and then we can discuss about it together. Because the contexts are different, or the context we have are different, but I am going to share with you the World Church perspective is what I'm going to share with you on this sacrament. And so I'm going to start by sharing the screen with you. Here you are. Share. Okay. Then. Okay. Okay, there we go. We are good. Just a moment, my friends. Okay. I will share with you this sacrament. It's called Holy Communion or the Lord's Supper. People call it different names. But to begin with, it's very, very important for us to have some basics for this, the sacraments, any sacrament, or the sacraments that we have. I'm just going to share with you some basics to begin with. So some basic elements of all the sacraments we have in the community of Christ is that, number one, there is that tangible sign. There is a sign, there should be signs or symbols of God's grace revealed in Jesus Christ. Can I have someone speak so that I know that, just say hi. Michael, can you unmute?
Yes, hello, can you hear?
Okay,
hi.
Good, 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 yeah. First of all, like I said, we are talking about the Holy Communion or the Lord's Supper. And I'm going to first of all begin with the basic elements of all the sacraments we have. How many sacraments do we have? Do you know that? Okay, very good.
8.
Yeah, very good, very good. So, all those sacraments, they should be a tangible sign. They should be signs or symbols of God's grace revealed in Jesus Christ. They should be grounded in the ministry of Jesus Christ. So it's all about Jesus Christ's ministry when we are talking about the sacraments. They are spoken words of blessing and petition, articulation of the covenant involved, and related opportunities, responsibilities, and promises. And these sacraments are eligible to priesthood to perform the sacrament. So it's the priesthood who performs the sacraments, eligible priesthood. And by eligible, you know what I mean. Then there is a spiritual anticipation and participation in worship setting. So it should be a worship setting. When you do these sacraments, it should be a worship setting. So maybe there'll be songs, maybe there'll be preaching, maybe there'll be testimonies, whatever, but it should be a worship setting. So those are just the basics for any sacrament: tangible signs, symbols, grace is revealed. It should be grounded in Christ's ministry. There should be words spoken words, of blessing and petition, articulation, and a covenant is involved with related opportunities, responsibilities, and promises. And of course, it should be eligible priesthood who performs the sacraments, spiritual anticipation, and a worship setting. Okay? Why is it not letting me move? Okay, sorry. It wanted me to bang my computer. Okay. Now, I just want to describe the sacrament itself, the communion. It is widely recognized spiritual remembrance of the life, the death, the resurrection, and the continuing presence of Jesus Christ. As patterned, it's related to the Last Supper of Jesus Christ with the 12 apostles. Now, in the community of Christ, this sacrament also provides opportunities for members to reaffirm their baptism covenant. You are reaffirming that you are baptized, to reconcile, those strained relationships you have, to commit together in the church's mission for promoting communities of generosity, justice, peacefulness. And we get this in Doctrine and Covenants 164, 4b. You can take note of that. The Lord's Supper represents God's covenant with humanity as each individual's covenant to follow the way of Jesus Christ. The covenant relationship is extended to include communal worshipers who commit and embody communities of joy, hope, peace, and love. So they should be those communities where there is joy, hope, peace, and love, following the pattern of Jesus Christ. We should not forget that it's a covenant of humanity, following the way of Jesus Christ. And it should include us to embody communities, faith communities, where we love one another, where there is joy, where there is hope. You provide hope to the people. There should be that peaceful pattern way of life when you are experiencing this sacrament of the Lord's Supper. Any questions so far? And I wasn't just talking from without, I was talking from the scripture foundations we have. You can take note of those scriptures: 1 Corinthians chapter 11, 23 to 26, Matthew 26, 17 to 30, Mark 14, 12 to 26, Luke, and so on. And then these are some of the places where you can find what I've just been talking about. Then there are those we call sacrament universals, those which are universals, you understand by universals, those which are above everything else, those are universals. things which can happen here in the United States, in Africa, in Italy, everywhere. We call them universals. And so there is a connection to God and all of God's creation. A connection to God and all of God's creation. All of us are God's creation. And there is that connection to God, everyone, despite whatever, but those are universals. Then there is God's desire to bless people with wholeness. They are blessings. It's God's desire to bless us, you know. Anyone, there's no distinction. There is no choice to say it's this one, it's Michael, it's for Brenda, it's for Philip, it's for everyone. That connection of blessing which we receive is for everyone. Those are the universals. Then God's self-revelation and interaction with humanity. So God reveals himself to interact with us. That is the interaction. We feel the love, the peace, the joy, you know, the relations, the way we relate with each other. And then there is a connection to the past, the present, and the future generation of God's people. So even if I die, there is going to be a connection. People are going to be connected to this sacrament with God. It's for now, it's for the future, you know, it's for all the times of the year, of the one's life. Then there is also the recognition of God's grace and saving activity among us. It's by God's grace that there is that saving, that we are saved by God's grace. You know, all of us are fallen short of the glory of God, but there is this grace of God. All of us have done one thing or another, but God has been gracious to us. Then we have the acknowledgement of the holy amid the ordinary. You know, we feel that holy amongst us with this sacrament. There is that holiness which comes among the ordinary, because we are ordinary people, you know. We are ordinary humans. But there is that acknowledgement that what we are doing is holy. Then there is covenanting between the divine and the humans. The divine and the humans. Humans and the divine, and the divines with each other. There is a covenant between the divine and us, then us and the divine, then with each other as humans. You know, there is that covenant that we make with these sacraments. Those are the universals. Now, when we talk about the symbols, remember at the top there, the basics, I told you that they are symbols. They are symbols. How do you know that you have, this is the Holy Communion? How do you know that? Who can tell me? Anyone can unmute and tell me. How do you know that what you are having here, what you can see is the Holy Communion? How do you know that? Anyone can unmute.
Well, I think we're used to hearing prayers that are said every time in communion, and we also see the symbols, the bread and the grape juice.
Very good, very good. Those are the symbols, the bread and the wine or the grape juice, such as they should be in the community of Christ, unfermented grape juice. Unfermented, so it shouldn't make you to look drunk, you know. It should be something which is unfermented, the ordinary juice, grape juice, and unfermented beverages. Unfermented beverages. And sometimes if you have people who are diabetic, who are sick, you can also have water on it. Those are the primary symbols. And then there should be a priesthood, because it's a priesthood ministry. And then we should recognize that the meal we are eating is a sacred meal. It's not the ordinary meal that we eat with the family. It is a sacred meal. It's a sacrament and a sacred meal. Those are the primary symbols, the bread and the wine, unfermented grape juice, water, or unfermented drinks. Then there should be a priesthood, because it's a priesthood ministry. And we should recognize that what we are eating here is a sacred meal of a faith community. Now, community of Christ particulars. Now, those particulars which are required. The sacrament of the Lord's Supper is primary focus for a communal worship experience. So it should be a community of people who are gathered doing this worship experience. I didn't say 2 people, but a community worshiping, or maybe 3 or 4, but just know that it should be a community, not alone. You are seated in your room to say, today I'm giving myself Holy Communion. It should be a communal worship, you know. Then these people, now we are talking about the particulars. If there are some traditions where people cover, they put a cover on top of the emblems. They should be uncovered. Make sure that the emblems are seen by the people. Before you pray the prayer of blessing, they should be uncovered. Then then you pray, you know, but the prayers also, you can find them in Doctrine and Covenants 1723b, or when you look at, I think you can also find it in the Community of Christ book. You can find the prayer there. Then combined bread and wine also has got 2 options. Doctrine and Covenant 17, or in the contemporary language in front of the Community of Christ sings, or on the church website if you want. If you are very familiar with the website, you can find it there. Following the reading, after you read the prayers of blessing, and this should be done by priesthood members from priest, if it's the Aaronic and the Melchizedek priesthood members. The emblems are saved in one of the following ways. Priests or Melchizedek priesthood members offer them emblems to each person. You know, you offer them, you go and offer. Or the worship leader invites them to be served, so they can come to the ones who is serving the emblems. Remember, it is the priest or the Melchizedek priesthood members only. Priest from the Aaronic and the Melchizedek priesthood members can be the one who can do that. If there are people who are unable to walk, you know, who decide to participate, they should be saved the emblems, again by the priest or the Melchizedek priesthood member. I'm emphasizing the priest or the Melchizedek priesthood. Partaking the emblems is a personal choice of a person. A person makes the choice to participate. Priesthood members do not withhold emblems from anyone. You don't have to say or jump or skip someone at today you will not eat. You know, it's someone's. You don't have to make a choice of or for anyone. It is their choice, whether they eat or they do not eat. It's something which is coming from their hearts. You don't have to force them, oh, you should eat, you should eat. No, it's their personal choice which they make. When a disciple's generous response offering is part of the worship, so there should be an offering. And it should be called Ministries of Abolish Poverty and End Suffering. That is where it is designated. Again, you can read from Doctrine and Covenants 42:8 and 52:2, or the World Conference Resolution 773. We have got some additional guidance from the First Presidency. This which I'm telling you is additional guidance from the FP, First Presidency. In addition to what I told you above information, the following guidelines are provided to address specific questions that have arisen throughout the world. So there are so many questions which the people ask the First Presidency, and this is some of them. Ordained and unordained persons may prepare the emblems. So if you are not ordained and, you know, the pastor or the congregation presider wants you to do something for them, you know, you can wash. There's nothing for you to wash the cups and to do, even to prepare to put the juice in there and place it on the table. There is nothing wrong. That's what the First Presidency are telling us. Additional information. Setting the communion table, removing the coverings, washing them, arranging the emblems, saving the trays before the worship. You know, following the service, remaining emblems may be consumed or discarded by ordained or unordained person. You know, after you finish the sacraments, the remains they are no longer being used. They are no longer part of that sacrament. Then anyone can eat if you want to eat or to drink the wine. Sometimes you have a question, okay, you can ask.
I don't have a question. I have a comment that I want to make. As a child, after communion service, my granddad always used to have the children who were not yet old enough to be baptized, and we would all gather together, and he would give each one of us a piece of bread and each one of us a little glass of juice. Now, he was not serving us communion. We knew it was not communion, but this is the way that we shared with the bread and the grape juice. Actually, it was raisin juice back then. We couldn't get grapes in England, so they made it from raisins. But that was a really special part of growing up for me. Again, I was not partaking communion. I knew I was not doing that, but I was participating in, I shouldn't say getting rid of what was left, but my granddad always gave us the opportunity to share in that. It was special.
Yeah. You know what happens at the end of the service? The children see us eating the bread and the wine and they are hungry, you know. So sharing after the blessing of the sacrament, it's no longer a sacrament. You can share that. Some people would say, oh, only the priesthood, they call the priesthood, and the children look at you eating the food, the leftovers. They have a wrong impression, you know. So anyone can have that. Thank you for sharing, Brenda. Thank you. That's very important. So worship related, I'm not seeing everyone, Michael. If someone puts their hand up or wants to ask, you can always let me know. Worship related to the Lord's Supper should focus on the sacrament itself. So when it is the Lord's Supper, excuse me, you have to focus on the Lord's Supper. you know. Even your preaching should be related to the Lord's Supper, so that the people, when they go out, they will know that it's a sacrament. Worship elements should enhance the participants to experience the sacrament itself. First of all, the message you are speaking should be about it. It should bring good news. If included, should be, if you want to do something, then there should be some brief and centering or meaning of the sacrament. If there is something else you are preaching on, but you should have some brief statement about that sacrament so that the people understand that this is what you're doing. And normally in the community of Christ, it's usually the first week of the month when we have the Holy Communion. We understand that the sacraments work together as an expression of God's love, grace, and shalom, or peace. However, multiple sacraments performed in a single worship service may limit the congregation's ability to fully experience the deeper meaning of a particular sacrament. For example, if you have 3 or 4 sacraments at the same time, the congregation can lose the meaning of the sacrament. It will be difficult for you to know each of those. And it will take you long, you know. It will be the whole day. First it's this sacrament and then it's that. I think it's preferably one sacrament in each worship service can be scheduled. It will be better to do it that way. It's preferred because it emphasizes the meaning of that sacrament. It should be invitational, inviting. Do you know that song which says, for everyone born, a place at the table? You know, that is a very meaningful song. Some people don't like it, but when you look at the words there, the words should be real. We should live those words. It's the same thing with the Holy Communion. All are welcome to the table. And I'm emphasizing on the word all, A-L-L. All, which means there's no discrimination about it. There is no judgment about it. All are welcome at the table. You know, these are additional things by the First Presidency. They are saying that everyone is welcome. For the Lord's Supper or communion is a sacrament which will remember the life, the death, and the resurrection and the continuing presence of Jesus Christ. So everyone is welcome to remember the life and death and resurrection. There is no discrimination. That's the meaning of that. Now, in the community of Christ, we also experience communion as an opportunity to renew our baptismal covenant and to be formed. You know, discipleship formation comes in. Who lives Christ's mission? You know, it's a part in the church where we are formed. Discipleship formation. When we partake the Holy Communion, we are forming ourselves as better disciples. You know, I know the experience, some people do not want others to experience the Holy Communion, but it's for everyone. Others may have different or added understandings within their faith traditions, but we invite all who participate in the Lord's Supper to do so in the love and the peace of Jesus Christ. I can tell you, I was in one congregation in Zambia. A young man was preaching. He did a very good preaching. I was happy about it. But when it was time to offer Holy Communion, he was denied. he was denied. And then I went to ask the pastor that, why did you skip the bread and the wine from this young man who preached the good news to us? They said, oh no, he's not baptized in the community of Christ, Then I said, no, maybe you didn't ask him. Maybe he's baptized in another congregation, in another faith or what. You could have asked that. What you have done, this person was sharing the word of God to you. Now, when it comes to the table, you are denying that table, It's good to say that everyone is invited. Maybe they've been baptized elsewhere, or, I don't know. It has to do with the heart, the believer's heart. It has to do with what someone believes. That's all about the Holy Communion. And we don't have to judge. Now, when we talk about the emblems are offered to all worship participants. Again, they are using the word all. It's very important, all worship participants. While serving, priesthood should not attempt to determine who or should not partake. We should not determine that, oh, yesterday I saw Mike doing this, ABCD, so today I won't jump him, I will not give him. We should not. We offer the Lord's Supper following the example of Jesus, who generously shared the table fellowship with all people, including those considered as outcasts and sinners in that time. When you read Mark 2:15 and Luke 15:1-2, even at the table, Jesus knew that he was eating with Judas Iscariot, someone who would betray him. But they ate the food together. They shared the meal together. We are instructed to generously share the invitation ministries, sacraments, through which people can encounter the living Christ, the Christ who heals, the Christ who reconciles through redemptive relationships in the community. You can read Doctrine and Covenants 163 2b. Any questions so far?
Catherin, when you or overate.
Can you, Michael? I didn't hear what she said. She was.
Yeah, Claire, your mic went.
Claire,
can you just repeat it?
Sorry. I was just asking you. You're saying sort of offer everybody the communion. What about children who are below 8, or what is the thought now with children?
Yeah, the thought now with children, the position of the church still stands at 8 up to today, But I said, as I said, we are still looking into it to see, because other children from other denominations, when they come, they can eat. But our children in the community of Christ, we say no to them. So we are in a discussion where we can see how the children can partake. But at the moment, we are saying that they should have, what can I say? They should be in a position to make a choice that now they can be baptized, Now they can be baptized. That's the position of the church now. But other people are saying their children in some nations, for example, they can say, why can't you baptize our children who are babies, because we are deciding for them? because parents decide for their children. So that one we are in the discussion. And some of it, you have seen it, it's one of the resolutions. When we come to the World Conference, we are going to talk about the infant baptisms. You know, how do the people take it? Is it okay to receive the people who are coming in as infants baptized in other denominations? Can we agree to that? Can we agree to that? That will be part of the discussions, but the Community of Christ, we are saying right now 8. But in reunions, I understand in your reunions, anyone can partake, right? In some reunions, like in the USA, they don't particularly look at which age or what. Anyone can partake. But in the Community of Christ, the church position is we are waiting for someone to be 8 years old. But some guidance, which the First Presidency, like I said, they are providing advice to that don't judge. Let it be, you know, because someone is just celebrating the life, the death, and the continuing of the life of Jesus Christ. You know, I think that's how I can respond. Thank you, Claire. Michael, you want to say something?
No, I'm just translating. I just find my head's moving. I'm sorry.
Oh, you are translating. Okay. Then I'll be slow. I'll be a little bit slower because I'm.
Oh, you're fine. You're fine. You're doing just fine.
Okay. And besides, you know, you can see it, right? Some parents or guardians, whether Community of Christ or other faith traditions, prefer their children for whom they are responsible to wait until after they receive baptism communion. I think it's now responding to your question, Claire. Others allow participation before baptism as an expression of the child's desire to remember and follow Jesus Christ. In those instances, the key principle is that the child understands. The child should understand. People participate in communion to remember Jesus Christ and commit to doing their best to follow him. If parents or guardians of the children are not present or available to consult, the pastor shall determine whether unbaptized children may receive the sacrament. Okay? It is highly recommended that the 2 statements be read during the worship before the emblems are blessed and served. First is the scripture reading that roots the sacrament in the scripture and the Christian history. The appropriate scriptures appropriate for this purpose are in 1 Corinthians chapter 11, 23 to 26. Others are Matthew 26, 17 to 30, Mark 14, 12 to 26, Luke 22, 7 to 39. In the second statement, in one of the invitation, it describes how Community of Christ views and practices the Lord's Supper. It usually is read just before the emblems are blessed. This is referred to as the invitation to communion. So we invite. There should be an invitation to the Holy Communion. All those who are baptized in other faiths, you know, there should be that invitation. You inviting the people. All are welcome at the table. The Lord's Supper or communion is a sacrament in which, and this is the statement you can say, in which we remember the life, the death, the resurrection, and the continuing presence of Jesus Christ. In Community of Christ, we also experience communion as an opportunity to renew our baptism, our baptismal covenant, and to be formed as disciples who live Christ's mission. Others may have a different or added understanding within their faith traditions. We invite all who participate in the Lord's Supper to do so in the love and the peace of Jesus Christ. Okay, Michael, I'm very fast, right? Okay. Now, worship planners, those who plan the worship, the leaders, should make a provision to meet the needs that otherwise could keep individuals from fully participating in the communion. This might include providing gluten-free bread, acknowledging that not all people can kneel. You don't have to force people to kneel. Some of the people, our kneels, we cannot kneel down. We are heavy even to stand up. So, you know, you should provide those provisions. Come forward, you know, or easily hold the emblems for them because they are unable to do that. When planning ecumenical interfaiths services, ecumenical and interfaith services that include communion, consult with the apostle about ways to honor community of Christ particulars. Remember those particulars? While honoring the communion traditions of others. In some other places, they drink the wine with alcohol, and you can be drunk, you know? So remember that. I experienced one ecumenical grouping where I attended. I didn't know, we were 3 with my other colleagues. My other colleagues went forward without asking. They drank the wine with alcohol. But me, when I reached there, I said, there are so many wines here. Which wine should I take? Because us, we in the community of Christ, we shouldn't be drunk. It should be unfermented. Then they showed, oh, it's the other side. Go the other side. So I went the other side. When I looked at my friends, they were complaining, oh, I feel it's in the stomach, I feel. Then I joked with them that you are drunk. So as ministers or as leaders, as pastors, we should make sure that when we are planning, ask your apostle, what can I do if you don't know? So that your apostle can advise you, okay, there should be wine which is unfermented, and what, do this bread, all those things when you are planning ecumenical events. It can be very helpful to you. When providing the Lord's Supper to the sick or homebound persons, priesthood members endeavor to establish an atmosphere of worship. There should be an atmosphere of worship. The prayers of blessing on the emblems is read by a priest or a Melchizedek priesthood member in the presence of the participants, even if the emblems were blessed. This ensures that all required elements of the sacrament, including the prayers of blessing, are experienced by the participant. It is recommended to have an offering. It's called oblation offering during each such visits. However, if someone wishes to make an offering, it should be received with gratitude. You can receive it with gratitude and appreciation, and then give it to the appropriate financial officer for the designated purpose. That is oblation. The Holy Spirit instructs unique situations where guidelines may not. Those who preside over congregation and worship services are called in accordance with the leadings of the Spirit. You can read Doctrine and Covenants 17:9, section 17:9. Their pastoral judgment should be respected. Okay, Bob Sanders, can you please mute yourself? Thank you, my friend. Thank you so much. Their pastoral judgment should be respected in situations where further interpretations may be required. The Lord's Supper should be used. The Lord's Supper should never be used to cause spiritual or emotional or relational harm. We shouldn't harm anyone with the Lord's Supper. Let's not harm our friends. In an unusual or unanticipated situation, simply do the best you can to uphold the purpose and the meaning of the sacrament. Any questions so far before I go to online participation? Okay, now let's go to online participation, like what we are doing today. This has come to stay. There will be people who will be going physically and people who will be online, where it is very difficult for people to come together like this. Online participation in the sacrament of the Lord's Supper. Technology represents opportunities for involvement in sacraments by priesthood members and participants in separate locations. In the 2019 Words of Council, CVZ shared the Words of Council. This may occur in many ways. The following principles should be observed when planning and providing an online or hybrid, in-person and online in brackets, participation in the Lord's Supper. Number one, sacraments are provided in the spirit and context of worship. So it's worship in the spirit of worship. Even if you are doing it online, it should be in the spirit of worship. You don't just say, I'm ordaining you. There should be a worship involvement. It should be in that spirit of worship context. The sacrament of the Lord's Supper can be offered online as part of the hybrid setting. Sharing of the sacraments together in community. It's all about sharing at the same time, as though we were sitting together in the same room is preferred. Like what I'm doing today, it's like we are in the same room. You know, there can be some seconds or what difference in the time of you to get what I'm saying, but it's like we are in the same room. Emblems should be physically present for all those wishing to partake. They should be the emblems. So they should be the actual wine, you know, the actual unfermented wine, the water, the grape juice, the what, or whatever, bread should be physically present. A priest or a Melchizedek priesthood member should read the prayers of blessing on the emblem so that those in all the locations experience the blessing through the sight, seeing, the sound, hearing, closed captioning, or sound only. Also, participants in all the locations should be encouraged to kneel, if possible. If they are able to kneel, we encourage them to kneel. If priests or Melchizedek priesthood are present at the remote location, the emblems are saved in one of the following ways. Number one, the priest or the Melchizedek priesthood members offer the emblems to each other. Number two, participants are invited to come to the places place or places where they are served the emblems, or the emblems are made available for the priests or the Melchizedek priesthood members. Those who are unable to walk or who desire to participate should be served the emblems by the priest or the Melchizedek priesthood members, and that is in brackets. If the priests or the Melchizedek priesthood are not available, this is where we have to understand. If they are not available to serve the emblems in some locations, you know, participants may take the emblems themselves from a designated plate or location. So I can be there, and someone in Italy who is not, there is no priesthood member there, but they can put or prepare. Remember, on the particulars, I was saying that the emblems can be prepared by anyone. Anyone can prepare the emblems. Anyone can wash the cups, you know. So the same thing can happen. They can prepare and put aside the bread and the wine. When it is time to partake, there is that invitation. Communion statement should be read so that those in those locations experience the statement through the sightseeing, the sound, the captioning, or the sound only. It depends. Any questions so far? I know you are doing this online thing. If there are exceptions, you know, you can tell your mission center president or the apostle, who will share with the World Church Secretary for consideration by the First Presidency when you are doing online. So there are those considerations which can be taken into consideration.
I do have a question, Catherin.
No problem. Now let me just bring you down so that we can see. I can see everyone. What can I do? This technology, I want to bring down everyone so that I can see. Okay. You are sharing. I want to stop sharing. Okay. Yeah. Now we can see each other. Yes.
Yes, I
now
did have a question. I did have a question.
Yes.
I'm a member of the Cedar Rapids congregation in Iowa, and we live stream our services. They're also available on YouTube. The question that I was asked was, I know the policy is that you need to be present when the prayers are said, and you should be partaking at the same time that everybody in the congregation is partaking, even if you're online. But my question that I was asked was, but I was not able to be there at that time. Is it okay for me to take communion later when I see it on YouTube? So what would be the correct answer to that?
So you were not there when they were taking?
The person was not there at the time that the service was taking place.
Oh, okay.
The person watched it later in the day, so on the internet. But watch the service. And the question that was asked me was, is it okay then to partake of the communion when I see it on the YouTube, although it's not actually taking place at that time? And I had to answer with the World Church regulations at the time, which was no, you have to wait. But is that still the policy?
That's not the policy, but that's a very good question you are asking. It's a very good question you are asking. It's like in the congregation, you are in the congregation, then someone is not present in that congregation. Maybe because they are sick, they're incapacitated, they are laying in the bed, they are not able to attend. You are able to take those emblems because they are physically incapacitated. They can't attend. So you can take it to them physically. That's on the physical part. But on the online, you are saying that that person watched later, right?
Correct.
Yeah. Later now, it's a different thing because it is later.
Right.
That person was supposed to be present, probably, or maybe the internet kicked them out or what. You know, by that time you can know that that person was present because they have to be present. They have to be present. Unless they are sick, that's when you can arrange for a worship. It should be a worship experience when you go to them at that time. But they watched later. It means they are watching something they were not present.
Right.
Which other people were experiencing. I think that's the way I can respond to that one safely.
So the answer would be wait until a time that you can actually be present, either in person or virtually.
Yes, because people really want you to be present. We have not, because it's a sacrament, we have not reached at a place whereby we say, you are not present, we can give you a sacrament. They have to be present. Yeah. So, okay, someone left. They needed to drop that message. Okay, thank you. Good question. I'm also going to share with my colleagues in the Council of 12, because right now we are doing C12.
We have Justice with a question too.
Justice Manning.
Just a comment. If you've ever attended Beyond the Walls on the services, on the days they have communion, John Hamer explicitly asked people not to partake unless they're live. Plus, you pointed out earlier in your presentation, Sister Catherin, that you need to have two things, the worship attitude and the reading of the prayers in person.
Very good, very good. Thank you very much for catching that.
Thank you.
Well, my friends, that comes to the end of the teaching. I'm very happy.